If you have lower back pain, then I'm going to show you the 3 best beginner stretches to help you fix that lower back pain. Okay, today we're going to focus on 3 stretches to help you fix lower back pain. But first, I wanted to talk about why these stretches are really important. You see, if we want to avoid having lower back pain, we want to avoid the muscles around the lower back pulling on the spine, making our pelvis uneven or too far forward or too far backwards. So the 3 muscles we're going to be focusing on are this: the hip flexor muscles, which come across the front of the hip and attach down on the thigh bone, which pulls your thigh bone up like this. And when those muscles are tight, when the hip flexors are tight, it pulls our pelvis forward and puts us into what's called an anterior pelvic tilt like this. When that happens, we put a lot of pressure on these discs back here, which can compress on the nerves and cause lower back pain. Now the second muscle is the hamstrings. Now those are going to come down the back side of the leg, and they're going to prevent you from being able to bend forward and touch your toes if they're tight. They can also pull on your pelvis, putting you into a posterior pelvic tilt like this, which often makes your upper back round forward, and again, puts extra pressure on the discs of your spine, pinching those nerves, causing lower back pain. And the third muscle group is going to be the hip external rotators. So the muscles that make your hip do this, externally rotate like this. When these muscles are tight, they internally rotate the knee and the hip, which again, brings your pelvis into a bad postural position and can cause lower back pain. But the good news is, like I said, there's 3 simple stretches you can do to help you fix this lower back pain. And all you got to do is follow along to each one of them. So let's dive in. Okay, the first stretch is the standing hip flexor stretch. What I like about this stretch is you can do this anytime, anywhere to loosen up those hip flexors and allow your pelvis to come back into a center position. So here's how to do it with good form. What you're going to do is take 1 step forward and 1 step back. You'll want to make sure that there's space between your feet. You're not trying to stand on a balance beam like this and making this a balance drill. This is about creating flexibility in the hip flexors right here on the front side of your back thigh. Now in this position, the first step is to turn your pelvis straight forward like this. We don't want to open the pelvis out to the side as we do this stretch. The second thing we want to do is we want to tuck the butt under like this. So a lot of people, when they do a hip flexor stretch, they'll just let their butt stick out like this as they come down, and all that does is put more pressure on the lower back. So we want to squeeze the glutes and tuck the pelvis like this as we bring our body forward to stretch the hip flexors. Now, what will happen is as you come forward, you'll start to feel a stretch coming through the front side of your hip. That's the exact stretch we want to feel. You can use a chair next to you for support if you're having trouble with balance. Once we find this position, what we want to do is this. Take a big breath in, and as we exhale, we try to bring our pelvis forward towards our front heel. If you need to adjust your stance, please feel free to do it. But what you should feel is as we breathe and relax into this stretch, you should feel a deeper and deeper stretch coming through the front side of your back hip. Another thing to be really thoughtful of and aware of is to think about length, right? So I try to think about I'm pushing through my back heel, I'm creating as much length as possible all the way through the front side of the hip and even into my core, even into my posture as I'm doing this movement. And every time I breathe and relax, I'm dropping my hips down, but I'm thinking length all the way through the front side of my body. Now, once you hold this for anywhere between 30 to 90 seconds, you can slowly come up and you can switch sides and stretch your hip flexor on the other side. And what you'll notice too, as you come up, one side will feel so much looser and your pelvis will feel more relaxed, and maybe even your back pain will have lessened or even gone away on that particular side of your body in just one simple stretch. Make sure you stretch both sides and make sure you do this every single day until you loosen up your hip flexors and notice that you go from an anterior pelvic tilt to having a more neutral position of your pelvis. That's what's going to help that lower back pain go away if this is the area of your body that needs stretching. All right, let's go on to the next muscle that you need to stretch. Okay, this second stretch is going to be a stretch for your hamstrings. And what's great about this stretch is you can do it lying on a couch or even lying in bed first thing in the morning. And all you need is a towel to perform this stretch. So find a comfortable position, couch, floor, bed, whatever makes sense to you. Lie down on your back. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this towel to stretch our hamstrings one at a time. Now, to set this up, the first thing you want to do is you want to roll this towel up and you want to put it over the ball of your foot right underneath your toes like this. So we don't want to put it over the arch of the foot. We want to put it over the ball of the foot, and I'll explain why in just a sec. From there, you want to straighten that leg, lay down on your back and just relax, put a pillow under your head. We want to stay as relaxed as possible, and pull your leg upwards like this. If for any reason this causes lower back pain because you have your foot down, you can always put a pillow underneath your knee like this as well and focus on stretching this hamstring. We shouldn't be focusing this as the primary stretching port, just this hamstring, okay? So from there, once we find a position where we feel a little bit of a stretch in the hamstrings, we want to pull down on the toes, because this line here, the hamstrings all the way into the calves, that's one line that when we stretch all the way through the calves, we can create a lot more flexibility that will allow us to move more freely through our bodies and not pull on our pelvis, causing that lower back pain. Now, just like before, what we want to do is take a big breath into our belly. And as we exhale, try to bring our toes closer to our nose by pulling down on the towel. And you can hold this position again for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, all the way up to 90 or so seconds. And then you can slowly bring your arms down, and you can switch sides by just replacing your foot in the towel, across the ball of the foot, straightening the leg, and pulling back. If you do this stretch every day, it's gonna loosen up your hamstrings, and when that happens, it stops pulling on your pelvis, putting your body in this bad posture position and causing lower back pain. Now, if these first two stretches don't work though, I got one more for you, which is a really common cause of back pain. And this is a great stretch that you can do even while sitting in a chair. Okay, this last stretch is gonna stretch all the muscles on the outsides of the hips that allow your hip to open up, because when we have nice, loose hip external rotators, again, it makes our pelvis more free to be in its proper position instead of it pulling us into a bad position all the time. And this is a great stretch you can do while sitting in a chair. So what you do is start by extending one leg, having a slight knee bend, and then you're gonna take this ankle and you're gonna cross it over the knee like this. Now, if that's too much for you from the start, you can even straighten this bottom knee more, cross it below the knee, cross it more in front of you like this. So whatever feels most comfortable for you. Ideally, we wanna bring it above the knee though. That's the position we wanna start this stretch in if we can go that far. From there, we wanna get a nice tall posture. We wanna start to bow our body forward until we feel a little bit of a stretch coming through the outside of the hip right here. Now, if you don't feel that stretch yet, that's totally fine. What we can do is this. We can walk this foot back a little bit, so it's more of a bend into the knee. And immediately, as you come to an upright position, you'll probably feel a much deeper stretch inside the hip. Now, in this position, what we can do is, if we want, we can put our arm on top of our leg like this, grab onto our foot, and press down with the elbow to open up the knee, turn a little bit towards the ankle, and then try to bring your belly button towards this thigh. So I'm trying to bring my belly button forward, towards this ankle, towards this thigh, while maintaining a pretty flat back. So I'm not rounding my back like this. I'm maintaining a flat back. And the deeper we go, hinging forward like this, the more we're gonna feel that stretch deep on the outside of the hip right there. And again, if this is too hard for you, straighten the leg and do the stretch this way. Or straighten the leg all the way, put it below your knee, grab onto your pant leg, and do the stretch this way. And you can still stretch the same muscles, even if you're incredibly tight in your hip external rotators. Just like before, breathe into the belly, exhale and try to move more forward. Hold this position for 30, 60, or 90 seconds. Bring it down, pause for a second. Notice the difference on how your one side feels compared to the other. And then make sure you stretch the other side of your body. And then make sure to come back and do all three of these stretches at least once a day. It'll only take you 5 or so minutes. And before you know it, those muscles will be significantly looser and your lower back will feel so much better. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you want more amazing content to help you feel significantly better in your body. And if you want to gain more flexibility, watch this video right here. Otherwise, if you want follow along stretching routines that you can do in 10, 20, or 30 minutes, well, then you should try WeShape. All you got to do is click the link below and you can try it for free.